Hey guys, I'm Alexander. Welcome to yours YouTube channel Fascinating Facts. I need your support. Show some love through subscribe my channel. In this video discussing about Antarctica. Let's go to the video. Antarctica is Earth's southernmost and least populated continent, situated almost entirely south of the Antarctic Circle and surrounded by the Southern Ocean. It contains the geographic South Pole. Antarctica is the fifth largest continent, being nearly twice the size of Australia and larger than Europe, and has an area of 14,200,000 kilometers square. Most of Antarctica is covered by ice, with an average thickness of 1.9 kilometers. Antarctica is on average the coldest, driest, and windiest of the continents, and it has the highest average elevation. It is mainly a polar desert, with annual precipitation of over 200 millimeters along the coast and far less inland. About 70% of the world's freshwater reserves are frozen in Antarctica, which if melted would raise global sea levels by almost 60 meters. Antarctica holds the record for the lowest measured temperature on Earth, 89.2 degrees Celsius. The coastal regions can reach temperatures over 10 degrees Celsius in summer. Native species of animals include mites, nematodes, penguins, seals, and tardigrades. Where vegetation occurs, it is mostly in the form of lichen or moss. The ice shelves of Antarctica were probably first seen in 1820, during a Russian expedition led by Fabian Gottlieb von Bellingshausen and Mikhail Lazarev. The decades that followed saw further exploration in French, American, and British expeditions. The first confirmed landing was by a Norwegian team in 1895. In the early 20th century, there were a few expeditions into the interior of the continent. British explorers were the first to reach the magnetic South Pole in 1909, and the geographic South Pole was first reached in 1911 by Norwegian explorers. Antarctica is governed by about 30 countries, all of which are parties of the 1959 Antarctic Treaty System. According to the terms of the treaty, military activity, mining, nuclear explosions, and nuclear waste disposal are all prohibited in Antarctica. Tourism, fishing, and research are the main human activities in and around Antarctica. During the summer months, about 5,000 people reside at research stations, a figure that drops to around 1,000 in the winter. Despite its remoteness, human activity has a significant impact on the continent via pollution, ozone depletion, and climate change. Africa separated from Antarctica in the Jurassic around 160 ma, followed by the Indian subcontinent in the early Cretaceous. During the early Paleogene, Antarctica remained connected to South America via the Isthmus of Scotia as well as to southeastern Australia. Fauna from the La Meseta Formation in the Antarctic Peninsula, dating to the Eocene, is very similar to equivalent South American faunas, with marsupials, xenarthrans, ledopteran, and Astropitherian ungulates, as well as gondwanathers and Meridiolstodons. Marsupials are thought to have dispersed into Australia via Antarctica by the early Eocene, around 53 ma. Australia-New Guinea separated from Antarctica. The Drake Passage opened between Antarctica and South America around 30 ma, resulting in the creation of the Antarctic Circumpolar Current that completely isolated the continent. Models of Antarctic geography suggest that the current, as well as a feedback loop caused by lowering CO2 levels, caused the creation of small yet permanent polar ice caps. As CO2 levels declined further, the ice began to spread rapidly, replacing the forests that until then had covered Antarctica. Since about 15 ma, the continent has been mostly covered with ice. The geology of Antarctica, largely obscured by the continental ice sheet, is being revealed by techniques such as remote sensing, ground-penetrating radar, and satellite imagery. Geologically, West Antarctica closely resembles the South American Andes. The Antarctic Peninsula was formed by geologic uplift and the transformation of seabed sediments into metamorphic rocks. West Antarctica was formed by the merging of several continental plates, which created a number of mountain ranges in the region, the most prominent being the Ellsworth Mountains. The presence of the West Antarctic Rift System has resulted in volcanism along the border between West and East Antarctica, as well as the creation of the Transantarctic Mountains. East Antarctica is geologically varied. Its formation began during the Archean Eon and stopped during the Cambrian period. It is built on a craton of rock, which is the basis of the Precambrian shield. On top of the base are coal and sandstones, limestones, and shales that were laid down during the Devonian and Jurassic periods to form the Transantarctic Mountains. In coastal areas such as the Shackleton Range and Victoria Land, some faulting has occurred. Coal was first recorded in Antarctica near the Beardmore Glacier by Frank Wild on the Nimrod expedition in 1907. And low-grade coal is known to exist across many parts of the Transantarctic Mountains. The Prince Charles Mountains contain deposits of iron ore. There are oil and natural gas fields in the Ross Sea. Antarctica is the coldest, windiest, and driest of Earth's continents. It was ice-free until about 34 Ma. The lowest natural air temperature ever recorded on Earth was 89.2 degrees Celsius at the Russian Vostok Station in Antarctica on the 21st of July 1983. A lower air temperature of 94.7 degrees Celsius was recorded in 2010 by satellite. However, it may have been influenced by ground temperatures and was not recorded at a height of 2 meters above the surface as required for official air temperature records. Average temperatures can reach a minimum of between 80 degrees Celsius in the interior of the continent during winter, and a maximum of over 10 degrees Celsius near the coast in summer. Antarctica is a polar desert with little precipitation. The continent receives an average equivalent to about 150 millimeters of water per year, mostly in the form of snow. The interior is drier and receives less than 50 millimeters per year, whereas the coastal regions typically receive more than 200 millimeters. In a few blue ice areas, the wind and sublimation remove more snow than is accumulated by precipitation. In the dry valleys, the same effect occurs over a rock base, leading to a barren and desiccated landscape. Antarctica is colder than the Arctic region, as much of Antarctica is over 3 meters above sea level, where air temperatures are colder. The relative warmth of the Arctic Ocean is transferred through the Arctic sea ice and moderates temperatures in the Arctic region. Antarctica contains about 90% of the world's ice. If all of this ice were melted, global sea levels would rise about 58 meters. In addition, Antarctica stores around 70% of global fresh water as ice. The continent is losing mass due to increased flow of its glaciers towards the ocean. The loss of mass from Antarctica's ice sheets is partially offset by additional snow falling back onto it. A 2018 systematic review study estimated that ice loss across the entire continent was 43 gigatons per year on average during the period from 1992 to 2002, but accelerated to an average of 220 GT per year during the 5 years from 2012 to 2017. Antarctica's total contribution to sea level rise has been estimated to be 8 to 14 millimeters. Most of the ice loss has taken place on the Antarctic Peninsula and West Antarctica. Estimates of the mass balance of the East Antarctic ice sheet as a whole range from slightly positive to slightly negative. Increased ice outflow has been observed in some regions of East Antarctica, particularly at Wilkes Land. Future projections of ice loss depend on the speed of climate change mitigation and are uncertain. Tipping points have been identified in some regions. When a certain threshold warming is reached, these regions may start melting at a significantly faster rate. If average temperatures were to begin to fall, the ice would not immediately be restored. A tipping point for the West Antarctic ice sheet is estimated to be between 1.5 and 2.0 degrees Celsius of global warming. A full collapse would likely not take place unless warming reaches between 2 and 3 degrees Celsius, and may occur within centuries under pessimistic assumptions. This full collapse would lead to 2 to 5 meters of sea level rise. At 3 degrees Celsius, parts of the East Antarctic ice sheet are also projected to be fully lost, and total ice loss would lead to around 6 to 12 meters or more of sea level rise. In 2017, there were more than 4,400 scientists undertaking research in Antarctica, a number that fell to just over 1,100. There are over 70 permanent and seasonal research stations on the continent. The largest, United States McMurdo Station, is capable of housing more than 1,000 people. The British Antarctic Survey has 5 major research stations on Antarctica, one of which is completely portable. The Belgian Princess Elizabeth Station is one of the most modern stations, and the first to be carbon neutral. Argentina, Australia, Chile, and Russia also have a large scientific presence on Antarctica. I think you like this video. Subscribe this channel for getting notifications for upcoming videos. Alexander signing off. Thank you.